5:17 local time, Northern Arabian Sea. Inside the Combat Information Center, the air stays cool and controlled. Consoles cast a low glow through the dark, while radar returns circle across the SPY-1 display with steady precision. Routine maritime traffic fills the outer rings. Then, in a single moment, 4 surface tracks change behavior together. Speed increasing, course shifting, formation tightening, no AIS. No bridge-to-bridge response, no civilian routing pattern. Multiple fast movers, bearing 098, range 21 nautical miles. The contacts jump from 14 knots to 32 in under 90 seconds. Not random motion, but a coordinated push. The tactical action officer leans in. No panic, no raised voice. Confirmed track correlation. Correlation confirms. All 4 vessels belong to the same group. Iranian fast attack craft profile, low radar cross-section, heavy wake signature. They are not drifting. They are driving toward a purpose. On the bridge, the destroyer holds its course. No obvious reaction. Helm unchanged. Wake steady. To anyone watching from the outside, nothing looks different. Inside, everything changes. Condition 3. Set and man key stations. The announcement moves through the passageways without urgency but without hesitation. Sailors secure loose gear. Weapon stations are manned. Electronic warfare comes fully online. The forward 5-inch gun mount turns 5 degrees to starboard. Not enough to threaten, just enough to be noticed. Range drops to 18 nautical miles. One Iranian vessel eases ahead of the others, adjusting its bearing directly toward the destroyer's projected track. Closest point of approach begins shrinking in real time. CPA now 3.6 nautical miles. Time to CPA 8 minutes. A bridge-to-bridge call goes out. Unidentified Iranian naval vessels, this is a United States warship conducting lawful transit in international waters. You are approaching at high speed. Recommend you alter course immediately. No reply. A second hail is transmitted in Farsi. Silence. Electronic warfare logs catch a narrowband radar sweep from the coastline. Low-power surface search mode. Not locked, but watching. Then the tactical display updates again. 2 additional airborne contacts lift from Bandar Abbas, climbing through 8,000 feet and heading out toward the carrier strike group. The destroyer is not alone in these waters. Over the horizon, the carrier continues on course under layered escort. But geometry matters. Fast surface craft closing from one direction. Airborne contacts building from another. No one announces escalation. It reveals itself through movement, angle, and timing. Air picture expanding. CIC reports. Recommend alert launch. On the flight deck, catapult steam pressure rises. Yellow shirts move with practiced precision. 2 F/A-18 Super Hornets sit armed in an air-to-air configuration. No strike loadout, purely defensive posture. The Iranian surface group splits. 2 boats peel slightly to port. 2 hold to starboard. A classic compression maneuver. Range now 14 nautical miles. Speed still above 30 knots. Wake patterns confirm sustained throttle. Inside CIC, no one speculates. They record bearing changes, engine signatures, radar intensity. One Iranian vessel cuts harder, now projected to pass within 2 nautical miles of the destroyer's bow. At that distance, a high-speed crossing becomes either a signal or a misjudgment. CPA 2.9 and falling. The destroyer does not turn. Helm steady, electronic countermeasures armed but passive. The forward CIWS tracks automatically in calibration. The phalanx mount shifts, its white radome making tiny corrections as it calculates trajectories everyone hopes remain theoretical. The Iranian boats are now inside 10 nautical miles. The airborne contacts continue outbound. Then the Super Hornets launch. Twin afterburners carve clean lines across the morning sky. They climb without spectacle, taking up a flanking position between the approaching aircraft and the carrier's axis. No missile lock, no aggressive radar, just presence. Back on the surface, one Iranian fast attack craft pushes to 34 knots. It closes faster than the others, projected crossing inside 1.8 nautical miles. The bridge transmits again. You are conducting unsafe maneuvering. Alter course immediately. Still nothing. At this distance, optics can pick out hull numbers. Deck crews are visible, helmets on, movement near the forward gun mount. Not manned, but not relaxed either. CPA 1.6 nautical miles. The captain studies the plot for several seconds, then gives one sentence. Log everything. No further instruction. Because at sea, escalation is not always measured by shots fired. Sometimes it is measured by distance. And right now, Iran is closing. 5:24 local time. Range 12 nautical miles. The 4 Iranian fast attack craft shift formation again. 2 break slightly to port, 2 remain to starboard. The geometry tightens into a shallow pincer aimed at the destroyer's projected path. Speed remains above 30 knots. This is no longer parallel shadowing. This is compression. Inside the Combat Information Center, track lines redraw in real time. Multiple surface contacts maneuvering with intent. The report carries no emotion, only clarity. Electronic warfare logs another emission spike from the Iranian coastline. Short-duration surface search radar. Not fire control grade, but closer than before. The air picture stabilizes as the two F/A-18 Super Hornets climb through 20,000 feet. They establish a barrier between the outbound Iranian aircraft and the carrier's axis. Radar stays in track while scan. No lock tones, no hard illumination. Up there, restraint is intentional. Down on the surface, range keeps collapsing. 9 nautical miles. One Iranian craft surges ahead again, its wake flattening into a sharp V behind the stern. It shifts 5 degrees to starboard. Direct intercept. CPA now 2.4 nautical miles. Time to CPA, 5 minutes. The destroyer still does not alter course. Helm steady, speed constant. That decision is visible to everyone watching. The forward 5-inch gun remains trained just off the center line. Not threatening, simply present. The Phalanx CIWS continues its silent calibration sweep, tracking targets in simulation mode. One Iranian vessel crosses ahead of the destroyer's projected bow at 2.1 nautical miles. Far too close to dismiss as coincidence. The bridge calls again. You are maneuvering unsafely in international waters. Recommend immediate course correction. No answer. Instead, the Iranian vessel adds more throttle. Exhaust haze thickens. Bow wave rises. Inside CIC, the Surface Warfare Coordinator spots a detail that changes the atmosphere. Coastal radar spike bearing 087, duration 2 seconds. That is not background traffic. That is focused attention. Aegis assigns the emission to a known Iranian coastal battery signature. Still not fire control quality, but clearly probing. The second pair of Iranian fast boats answer by accelerating. They tighten in behind the lead vessel, now within 7 nautical miles. The destroyer remains centered in its transit lane. No zigzagging, no retreat, just steady forward motion. Then a Seahawk helicopter lifts from the aft deck. Its rotors cut low over the wake before the aircraft banks left and drops to 200 feet above sea level. Its mission is simple: presence. The helicopter closes the gap faster than the boats. Forward-looking infrared comes online. High-resolution thermal imagery begins streaming back to CIC. Engine heat, deck crew signatures, radar arrays, captured, logged, time-stamped. At 1.8 nautical miles, the lead Iranian vessel alters course again. A harder turn. Now projected to cross inside 1.5 nautical miles of the destroyer's bow. At that speed, the margin for error is measured in seconds. CPA 1.5. Time to CPA, 3 minutes. The Phalanx mount turns directly toward the approaching vessel. Not armed, but impossible to misunderstand. Above them, the Seahawk settles into a wide orbit over the Iranian formation. Its sensor turret locks onto the lead craft's bridge. Optical zoom reveals crew movement near the forward gun. The weapon remains unmanned but fully visible. The helicopter switches to an open frequency. Iranian naval vessel, you are conducting an unsafe approach. Alter course immediately. The message is repeated in Farsi. No reply. The Iranian craft holds speed, closing to 1.3 nautical miles. Inside the destroyer, missile systems are powered, but safeties remain engaged. SM-2 intercept solutions run quietly in the background. Calculations ready, but not yet needed. One of the trailing Iranian boats moves closer to the destroyer's port quarter, reducing the gap to just over 2 nautical miles. The shape of an encirclement is nearly complete. Above, the Super Hornets adjust altitude, sliding into a flanking position relative to the approaching Iranian aircraft. No radar lock, no aggressive moves, just controlled presence, measured spacing. Surface range drops to 1.2 nautical miles. Then a small but important shift. The lead Iranian craft reduces speed by 4 knots, subtle but logged. Its wake shortens, its angle drifts a few degrees off the intercept line. Not a retreat, but no longer on a collision path. The destroyer never changed course, never raised its voice, never fired. But the message is clear, written in steel, motion, and radar arcs. Iran pushed forward. The Navy held steady. And at 5:29 local time, the pressure begins to ease. By 5:31, the range to the lead craft remains 1.2 nautical miles. The trailing pair sit at 2.4 and closing. Inside the Combat Information Center, every station is active but controlled. No shouting, no wasted movement, just precise callouts. Then everything shifts. A radar spike flashes from the coastline, bearing 085. The electronic warfare console lights amber. Duration, 1.7 seconds. Mode, fire control illumination. This is no longer routine scanning. This is targeting behavior. The atmosphere inside CIC doesn't get louder. It gets heavier. Aegis immediately reprioritizes. Surface threats remain critical, but the air picture rises in urgency. Engagement envelopes begin calculating automatically. No missile is launched, but the system is ready. On the bridge, the captain listens without turning. Confirm classification. Confirmed. Coastal battery illumination, not continuous. A brief pause. Then, set defensive posture Alpha. No alarm sound, but the entire ship shifts instantly. Missile launchers move from standby to active readiness. SM-2 systems fully energized. ESSM cells align with probable intercept paths. The Phalanx transitions from simulation tracking to live authorization. At 28,000 feet, the lead Super Hornet pilot hears it. A hard radar lock tone. Not a scan. A lock, the kind that comes just before a trigger is pulled. Spike 12 o'clock high. The Iranian fighter, likely an F-4 Phantom variant or a modernized equivalent, has moved from observation to weapons-grade tracking. 4 seconds. That's the window between lock and launch in modern air combat. The Hornet banks sharply left, dropping altitude. Countermeasures arm automatically. The AN/ALQ-214 system begins transmitting jamming signals, distorting the enemy's tracking solution. The second Hornet climbs, slipping into a high-cover position behind the Iranian jet. Silent. Watching. No return lock. Not yet. On the surface, the lead Iranian fast boat reacts to the tension above. It surges forward again. Throttle pushed. Range now 0.9 nautical miles. Too close. The bridge transmits sharper this time. Iranian vessel, you are inside unsafe maneuvering distance. Alter course immediately. No response. The vessel's bow shifts slightly toward the destroyer's starboard quarter. Crew members are visible near the forward gun, still unmanned but ready. Inside CIC, time compresses. The air track still shows a sustained lock. Coastal radar is silent again. The destroyer's systems prioritize the airborne threat. Intercept paths are plotted. Engagement windows calculated. If anything is launched, the response window will be measured in seconds. The captain speaks again, calm and even. If they fire, we finish it. No further explanation needed. Surface range drops to 0.8 nautical miles. The wake from the Iranian boat begins to ripple against the destroyer's hull, close enough to feel through steel. The Phalanx mount aligns fully. Its mechanical hum is now audible topside. The Seahawk widens its orbit slightly, but keeps its sensors locked on the lead vessel's bridge. Infrared captures detailed heat signatures of the crew, every frame recorded. Up in the sky, the Hornet pilot counts silently. 1 second, 2, 3. The lock tone holds. Then it vanishes. The Iranian jet brakes hard to the right, turning back toward the coastline. No launch, no flash, just a sharp retreat. Lock broken, the pilot reports. The second Hornet maintains position, monitoring the withdrawal. Still no counterlock, still no escalation. Back on the surface, the lead Iranian fast attack craft hesitates. Speed drops from 34 knots to 23. A slight turn away from the destroyer's path. The trailing boats follow. The pincer dissolves. Range increases to 1.1 nautical miles. Inside CIC, no one relaxes yet. Systems remain fully active. Aegis continues tracking. Intercept solutions stay live. Because something changed, that radar lock crossed into a different level of intent. No shots were fired, but the boundary was tested. Above, the Super Hornets shadow the retreating aircraft at a safe distance. No pursuit into territorial airspace, just disciplined spacing, controlled disengagement. On the surface, the Iranian boats widen their separation. 1.5 nautical miles, then 2.1. Their wakes stretch longer as speed decreases. No radio calls, no explanations, just distance. At 5:37 local time, the immediate threat stabilizes. No missiles, no gunfire. But escalation came within seconds of crossing a line. Iran moved beyond posture, beyond maneuvering, into direct signaling. And for 4 brief seconds over the Arabian Sea, the gap between warning and open conflict was razor thin. 5:36 local time. The radar lock is gone. The fast attack craft are no longer accelerating. But nothing stands down yet. Inside CIC, posture remains firm because the most dangerous moment in any encounter is the transition, when one side assumes it's over and the other is still calculating. Surface contacts reduce speed to 21 knots. Air tracks turn southeast, exiting the engagement geometry. Withdrawal is acknowledged but not trusted. Missile systems remain active. SM-2 batteries hold their assigned tracks. Safety's still engaged. ESSM coverage continues updating against low-altitude threats. Phalanx remains in live tracking mode. Nothing powers down. Because procedure is clear, you never assume the situation is finished. Above the water, the Seahawk tightens its orbit once more over the lead Iranian vessel. 200 feet above the surface, wide circle, steady, intentional. The helicopter's sensor turret turns smoothly, locking onto details with precision. Hull markings, crew posture, antenna arrays. Every frame is time-stamped, every movement stored. The aircraft transmits again over open frequency. Iranian naval vessel, your approach has been recorded. Maintain safe separation. This time there's an answer. Broken English cuts through the static. We conduct sovereign patrol near our waters. You adjust heading. The reply from the destroyer comes instantly, calm and controlled. United States warship operating in international waters. Your unsafe maneuver has been logged. No argument, no raised voices. The Iranian fast craft shifts course by a few degrees. A small move, but enough to matter. Range begins to open. 1.3 nautical miles, then 1.7. The trailing boats widen their spacing as well. Wake lines no longer converge. Above, the Super Hornets maintain their offset positions, shadowing the retreating aircraft. No radar lock returned, no flares, no warning shots, just disciplined control. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare officer reviews the earlier spike. Fire control illumination, 1.7 seconds. Frequency matches a known coastal anti-ship system. Not accidental, a deliberate probe. The data moves instantly into fleet intelligence channels. Not for headlines, not for public release, for doctrine. Because that single spike changes how the next encounter will be handled. By 5:42, the Iranian boats slow below 20 knots. Their formation stretches apart, no longer synchronized. The pincer is gone. But something else takes shape, a shift in response. The carrier strike group moves to a launch-on-detect posture for future coastal illumination events. No extended confirmation windows, no prolonged verbal warnings if a targeting signal holds. If it appears, the reaction comes faster. Nothing is announced. But every combat systems officer understands the adjustment. That is the real response. Not missiles, calibration. On the destroyer's bridge, the captain watches the range increase. 3.1 nautical miles, then 4.8. The Iranian vessels now run parallel instead of converging. Coastal radar activity fades back to background levels. The Seahawk makes one final low pass. Not aggressive, not close enough to provoke, but impossible to ignore. Rotor wash kicks spray across the Iranian deck. Sailors look up. Cameras capture everything. Then the helicopter climbs to 500 feet and turns back toward the destroyer. Mission complete. No strike package launched. No missile hatches opened. No guns fired. But the message is clear. You can push, you can test. You can illuminate for 1.7 seconds, but you don't control what happens next. At 5:48, the strike group returns to standard transit spacing. Combat air patrol remains overhead. Early warning aircraft expand the surveillance bubble out to 200 nautical miles. Surface watch stays reinforced. No one assumes it's over. Encounters like this are never isolated. They are rehearsals. Iran tested compression tactics. They tested radar illumination. They tested pressure from the air and sea at once. And they found the limits. Inside CIC, the tactical action officer logs the final entry. No weapons used. All threats disengaged. Strike group posture elevated. That elevation won't fade overnight. Next time a coastal radar spike lasts more than a second, the reaction window will shrink. Tolerance will narrow. Response will be faster. Iran pushed too far to call it routine, but not far enough to trigger destruction. They stepped onto the edge. The Navy quietly moved that edge. Because sometimes the most decisive move isn't the weapon you fire. It's the rule you change. 6:02 local time. The Arabian Sea looks calm again. No smoke, no debris, no visible trace of what almost happened. The strike group continues forward as if nothing changed. But inside the network, everything has. CIC replays the timeline from 5:17 onward. Every radar sweep, every course change, every emission spike. The acceleration profile of the Iranian boats is isolated and stored. Engine signatures cataloged. Wake patterns analyzed. Reaction times measured to the second. The 1.7 second illumination is broken down frame by frame, frequency logged, signal pattern archived, compared against past encounters. No shot was fired, but a signal was sent. And in modern naval operations, a signal reveals more than a strike. On deck, the Seahawk's footage streams into secure storage. Close-up visuals of crew positions, antenna layouts, gun mount angles, heat signatures under full throttle. Data. Clean, usable, permanent. In the air, the Super Hornets upload radar logs from the lock event. The Iranian targeting waveform is mapped and tagged. Next time, it will be recognized instantly. That's the quiet consequence. The intent was pressure. What they delivered was information. The strike group shifts from defensive alpha to a sustained elevated posture. Combat air patrol spacing tightens slightly. Electronic monitoring becomes more sensitive. Aegis threat prioritization updates across the formation. No announcement, no broadcast, just silent adaptation. The destroyer's captain steps away from the display only once the Iranian vessels pass beyond 12 nautical miles. Still visible on radar, but no longer closing, no longer pressing. By 6:18, the Iranian aircraft return to their coastal airspace. Their withdrawal path confirms no further intercept attempt. The Hornets maintain distance until separation is certain, then turn back toward the carrier. Fuel normal, weapons unused, mission logged as contained escalation. But containment isn't victory, it's adjustment. Within minutes, intelligence summaries begin compiling. Fleet Command receives the first encrypted report before sunrise fully clears the horizon. Illumination duration, surface compression timing, airborne lock interval. Every second matters, because the next encounter will build on this one. Iran aimed to show resolve. Instead, they revealed patterns, acceleration speed, formation behavior, radar timing, decision thresholds. And once those thresholds are known, they can be anticipated. The strike group never changed course, never raised its voice, never fired. That discipline carries weight beyond a single morning. Because escalation is a ladder, and Iran stepped one rung too high. Not enough to trigger a strike, but enough to be remembered. The line between routine shadowing and targeting behavior is thin. They crossed it briefly. And that brief moment reset expectations. Next time, warnings will be shorter, decisions faster, thresholds lower. Not publicly, not politically, operationally. By 6:40, the Arabian Sea returns to quiet. Deck crews move through normal routines. Maintenance cycles resume. Radar screens fill with commercial traffic and distant weather. But everyone aboard the destroyer knows what happened. For 4 seconds, the air carried the signal of possible conflict. For less than 2 minutes, ships tested distances that leave no room for error. For 1.7 seconds, a coastal system shifted from watching to targeting. Iran pushed, the Navy held. But holding steady was never the goal. The goal was adjustment. No missiles, no explosions, no wreckage. Yet the moment mattered. Because control at sea isn't always about force. Sometimes it's about who shapes the pace of escalation. Iran tried to create pressure. Instead, they accelerated refinement. They showed how far they would go and how close they were willing to come. And that exposure changes everything. The Arabian Sea is calm again. But the next time a radar signal holds for more than a second, the response may not come as a warning. And that's why pushing the line too far is rarely worth the risk.